Well, Happy New Year, everyone. We gather here in the celebration of this new year, and I'd like you to imagine something. Imagine suddenly you have some time off, and you and maybe some of your family or your closest friends have finally found the time to get away, to unplug from work, from all of the stresses and anxieties of everyday life. And one of you has found this nice, quaint little cottage up in the north, maybe tucked away in tucked away in the woods. And so you go and you find this nice little cottage and you begin to set up, and you're just enjoying your time in the company of those that you cherish so much. And the sun begins to dip over the horizon, and darkness comes, and a new snow comes and blankets the ground, and it is beautiful and pristine. And then suddenly, as you're all gathered together in the central room, you hear a loud pop, and all of the power goes out. And now you're sitting in darkness. What was once peaceful and serene now is feeling a little bit more terrifying. And to top it all off, you realize, you know what I forgot? Flashlights. Now we're stuck in an unknown place, far away from everything, sitting in the dark. But suddenly you remember something. I do have a single light. And so you go and you get it. You turn it on, and sure enough, it works. Now what do you do with the light? But more importantly, where do you put that light? Do you take that light and go to the furthest corner away from everything and put it up against the wall and say, look, now I've illuminated the wall? Or do you put it on the floor so you can get a lovely view of everyone's feet? Or do you say, you fools, you forgot your light, I have mine, I'm going to hold on to it as closely as I can so that no one will take it away? The wise man, the wise person will take that single light, go to the center of the room, and hang it up as high as they can so that it may shine down on everyone in the room. Hold the light up high, in the center, above it all, so that everyone may see, so that all of your surrounding becomes illumined. You can hold that light tightly to yourself, and maybe you can see what's right before you. Or you can hold it up high and see so much further. Sisters and brothers, today we celebrate the Epiphany of the Lord. The light for the nations come down into this world. And we have these imagery of light and dark and the contrast between following the light and being in the darkness. And think of how we use that word, epiphany. When we say, we had an epiphany, what do we mean? We mean, well, I was once struggling with a mystery, and then suddenly everything became clear. And I could see what was right in front of me all this time. Put it another way, we say, I have seen the light. Or if we're an artist and we want to draw a cartoon of somebody who suddenly has a brilliant idea, notice the language. A brilliant idea. We show a light bulb going off on top of their head, do we not? To recognize that the light, the truth, clarity, knowledge, to be able to see things as they truly are, well, we must be wise to see it. We must hold it high above ourselves. Not something that we cling to try and possess for ourselves, but to recognize that it is far beyond us. See, there is a contrast between the light and the dark, and there is a contrast in our gospel seen today between the Magi and Herod. Now, we know very little about who these Magi were. Some call him kings, some call them astrologers or philosophers. But what we do know is this, that they were wise. And what made them wise? They looked up. They recognized that truth is beyond them. You see, this is the great paradox, is that when you humble yourself and recognize that truth is so much further away from us, it burns brightly and begins to illumine so much around. They came from a far land. They did not know the language or the customs, but they looked up. And it took them to a foreign land to find the greatest treasure the world has ever known, because they were humble enough to follow the light, to place truth where it belongs. Herod, on his part, knew only one thing, and he knew it well. And he clung to it as tightly as he possibly could. And that one thing that Herod knew more than anything else was power. He knew the game of politics. Now, modern historians debate whether or not the massacre of the innocents happened. They say that there's not much historical evidence for it. But the one thing that every modern historian will agree with is that it certainly sounds like something that Herod would do. He was a tyrant. He gained his power by going off and knowing the game of politics. He went to Rome and knew how to speak their language, knew how to maneuver in such a way that he convinced the Senate to declare him King of the Jews. He is the King of the Jews. And so, coming back to the land of Israel, he had to convince the people. Well, how do I get the people to recognize me as the true king? How do I get them to respect me? All he knew was power. And as tightly as he clung on to it, he kept using it time and time again. He thought, well, one of the things that I can do is I can show my power and I can show my strength by building huge buildings. And he decided for the first time to expand the temple. And he built the biggest temple that the people had ever seen. This will garner respect. Except in order to do that, he needed the power of Rome. And so when he finally finished the temple, he erected right over the entrance of the temple a pagan idol, a golden sign of imperial Rome, the eagle, so that everyone who came to worship God would see who was really in control. Herod, when he was first taking his position of power, he had a problem. He was already married and needed to marry someone else, so he banished his wife and his children. And then when his other two sons began to grow in popularity and became a threat to him, he had them killed. Herod decided that I need the people to respect me, and so he decided to build all kinds of new things to provide for the needs of the people, but all he could do was tax them into oblivion. The more tightly he held to his desire and the one thing that he knew, the further and further he fell from what it is that he wanted. He became a tyrant. A wise person looks up, is humble enough to recognize that the truth is beyond us. Herod, for his part, couldn't even see it. When these men came from a far distant land, they had seen the light, and they said, "Where is the King of the Jews?" And Herod himself, right there, could not see it. And even still, rather than looking up and seeing what was plainly there, he had to ask people around, where would it be? And the one thing that a man like Herod cannot stand is for someone else to have the light. You see, the King of Kings was here, and Herod could not have that. And so he sought to snuff it out. Sisters and brothers, in this great feast of the Epiphany, we celebrate the fact that the light for the nations revealed himself to the world. And we call him King of Kings, so as to say that even the kings must recognize that truth and wisdom and beauty is far beyond them. That even the most powerful in this world must fall prostrate as the Magi did before him. To humble yourself and to recognize that no one man holds possession of the truth is to place the light where it belongs, far above us. And the great thing is that illuminates the world and allows us to see far more clearly. It is in humility that we begin to learn, and we begin to go to places we never dreamed of before and see wonders that we never thought possible. But the more tightly we control and cling to what we possess, the darker our world becomes, and the more frantically we fight to control even what little we have. So this is the contrast. And we celebrate today that the light to the nations, the King of Kings, the light for the world, came down and was born in the most humble of places and laid in a manger. So as to say that this is how you will see the light for the nations. This is how you will come to know the King of Kings, through humility. Like those wise men who looked up. Like those poor shepherds who found themselves staring in wonder at the beauty of the cosmos, able to see its radiance and able to perceive the light that has been born in this world. It is through that path that we come to see him. And so, sisters and brothers, as we come once more before this altar to receive the King of Kings, let us ask that the Lord remove from our hearts any pride or arrogance or any desire to hold on to control, to humble ourselves and look up and see the light of the world in all its splendor around.